Peter Dooley is with us as well, Owen. Peter is from the Dublin Renters Union. Peter, just to leave politics to one side, what do you want the next leader? Like, what should they do, or I suppose, what should they look like? Not an appearance, but how should they operate?
Well, I'll just start with this, and I'll say there is no possibility of the change that we're looking for in Ireland with the current incumbents, and I don't hold out much hope for the opposition either, to be frank, because essentially I think this is again moving around chairs, moving people into positions of power, and people who are completely out of touch with the daily lived experience of most people in Ireland in terms of 900,000 people in deprivation. We have 7 out of 10 18 to 34-year-olds now living at home. We have record amounts of evictions, record house prices, record homelessness. We have absolutely disastrous social services in Ireland. And on top of that, we've had a crushing referendum defeat where the people have resoundingly rejected the entire political establishment, I would argue, over the last number of weeks. And now we have this set up again where it's going to be an anointed leader. And that didn't go down too well a number of years ago, where we saw Brian Cowan move into that position.
Sort of a coronation, sort of a no contest.
Absolutely, and this is what it is. Like, you have Simon Harris, for instance, has been touted about, and like, essentially it'll be the same policies. They'll bow down to the super rich. They'll bow down to the European Union. 70% of our legislation comes from the European Union.
It is something, Owen, though, that within I suppose the Fine Gael constitution, I mean, you can do this. You can have a coronation.
Well, I mean, I respectfully wouldn't describe it as a coronation. I mean, nominations are open at the moment, and they're open to anyone to contest. So the full and open contest ongoing as we speak, and it's just a matter of a candidate to get sufficient nominations, and then that will take it to the next stage. But this is absolutely democratically transparent and a fair way of doing things. I mean, I wouldn't characterise it as a coronation at all.
Well, it's a general election, though, really, Peter, that you want.
Fundamentally, it goes further than that, Andrea. I think fundamentally it needs a huge change in Ireland where democracy should start from the ground up. We've seen a huge development of power and centralisation of power towards the European Union. We've seen it with 70% of our legislation comes from the European Union. Locally, in local areas, there's very little local democracy. We've seen so many people around the communities around Ireland being not listened to on issues that impact them, such as immigration, such as housing, such as health, all the disasters as well. And as well as draconian legislation, such as hate speech legislation being brought forward as well. And all these stuff that a lot of people are fundamentally against. And they're not acting in the interests of ordinary people. And I fundamentally want to see change.
Well, when the election comes up, which it will, most likely now probably, in the new year, Peter, will be able to have their say then.
Well, these are critically important issues, and I think it's critically important people look for people who are actually standing to bring power back to communities. I think that's vitally important. And we're not going to get that with the current incumbents, I would argue. And things will get worse